Have you ever found yourself staring at a graph and all you can think to say is, well, it goes up and then it goes down? You're not wrong, but you're definitely not telling the whole story. The big difference between just saying what the data does and telling a really compelling story with it, well, it all comes down to having the right words. So let's dive in and build a verbal toolkit that'll really bring your data to life.
Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll nail down a really common problem. Then, we're going to build a powerful vocabulary toolkit, piece by piece. And finally, we'll put it all together to see how just a few well-chosen words can create an absolutely dramatic transformation.
You know, we're all surrounded by charts and graphs these days, but the real trick? It's talking about what they mean in a way that's not only accurate, but also, actually interesting. So take a look at this graph. It's a pretty standard line chart, right? Showing some kind of performance over a period of time. We can see it jumps up, then it falls pretty steeply, and then it kind of slowly climbs back. Keep this one in your back pocket because we're going to come back to it later and completely change how we talk about it.
And that is the big question, isn't it? So what? This is the heart of the problem. If all we can say is, it goes up, then down, we're missing the entire story. That so what is everything. We need language that adds some context, some scale, and yeah, maybe even a little bit of emotion to those numbers.
The good news is, there's a really simple framework for all of this. It basically boils down to two fundamental grammatical recipes you can use to describe any trend. Once you get these down, everything else just falls right into place.
Okay, so this right here, this is the secret sauce. This slide breaks down the two simple recipes you need to know. On the left side, we've got a verb plus an adverb. The sales increased sharply. So the verb, increased, is the action, and the adverb, sharply, tells us how it happened. Then, on the right, we use an adjective plus a noun. There was a sharp increase. In this case, increase is the thing that happened, and sharp is the adjective that describes it. Now, they mean the exact same thing, but knowing both of them gives you so much more flexibility and power in your storytelling.
All right, let's start stocking up our toolkit. First on the list, all the words you're going to need for those upward trends, when things are looking good.
So check this out. We've got the two types of words we need. Over on the left are action words, the verbs, and on the right, we've got our describing words, the adjectives. Let's break them down.
See, not all upward movements are created equal. A gentle rise or a grow feels very different from a dramatic surge, or when profits just rocket. And choosing the word jump instead of climb suggests something really sudden and sharp. This is more than just learning vocabulary. It's about strategy. The word you pick literally frames the narrative for your audience. So picking the right verb is step one to telling a way better story.
Now, let's look at the adjectives. These are the words you're going to pair with a noun like growth or rise. Was it a slight increase or was it a substantial one? Was that growth steady and gradual or was it sharp and rapid? Every single one of these words paints a completely different picture of the exact same movement.
And here's where it all clicks together. We just take those adjectives we learned, tack on an ly, and boom, we have adverbs. Sharp becomes sharply, gradual becomes gradually. So now we can modify our verbs. Sales didn't just increase, they increased considerably. Profits didn't just grow, they grew steadily. See how we're combining these tools to build much more powerful and precise descriptions?
Okay, so now let's tackle the downward movements. And the really great news here is that the exact same principles apply, we just need to swap in a new set of words. For downward trends, you've got words like fall or drop for your general decreases. Decline often sounds a little more gradual, a little more formal. But for those really dramatic moments in the data, you've got plunge and plummet. I mean, think about the difference in impact. Saying sales declined might suggest, a manageable downturn. But saying sales plummeted, that signals a crisis. It tells a much more vivid story. And here is the absolute best part. You already know these adjectives. The exact same words we use to describe the speed and degree of an increase, like slight, gradual, or sharp, they work perfectly here. You can talk about a slight decline or a sharp drop. See? The toolkit is already working for you.
Of course, data isn't always moving in a clean up or down line. Sometimes it's a little messy, and sometimes it doesn't really move at all. So let's add a few more specialized tools to our kit.
When the data is just all over the place, bouncing up and down, the perfect word is fluctuate. As a verb, you could say, prices fluctuated rapidly. Or, using it as a noun, you could describe a rapid fluctuation in prices. This is the go-to term for any kind of unstable trend.
And what if nothing happens? Well, you need words for that too. You can say that the numbers remain stable, they stayed constant, or that they were maintained at a certain level. This shows that the lack of change is in itself a really noteworthy part of the story.
Okay, this is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the payoff. We've built our toolkit of verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Now let's go back to that graph from the very beginning and use what we've learned to totally transform our description.
So here's where we started. Sales went up, and then they went down. I mean, it's true. It's also completely uninspired and totally uninformative. It gives us zero sense of the drama that's happening inside that data.
And now, the after. Just listen to the difference this makes. After an initial surge, sales plummeted sharply before staging a gradual recovery. Every single one of those powerful words comes directly from the toolkit we just built. It's the exact same data, but this sentence, this one, tells a rich, compelling story of crisis and comeback.
So that's really the heart of it. By using those two simple patterns and a much richer vocabulary, you go from just observing data to actually telling its story. You now have the tools you need to give numbers real context, real meaning, and real impact.
And this is the idea I really want to leave you with. The numbers on the page, they're static. They don't change, but the narrative you build around them is incredibly dynamic. The words you choose can turn a dry facts into a powerful insight. So the next time you see a chart, ask yourself, what story am I going to choose to tell?